Hey, y'all, and welcome to season 2 of Listening and Learning with Hari. My name is Hari G. Darcy, and I'll be guiding you through today's episode. As a quick housekeeping refresher, this is the space where we slow down, think deeper, and make sense of the systems shaping our everyday lives and choices. My goal is to provide you with the tools and wisdom to help you make well informed decisions when you need it most. Also, if you would like to follow along with today's episode, visit harishelpinghands.com, my forever free newsletter, or check out Hari's Helping Hands on Discord for live conversations, reflections, and real-time community engagement. Again, that's HARISHELPING as in dog s.com. All right, let's get back on track, shall we? Remote work did not simply change where people work, it changed how people experience work psychologically. When organizations transitioned from traditional offices to digital environments, employees gained new forms of flexibility while also encountering new emotional demands. Today's conversation is not about whether remote work is inherently good or bad. Instead, it is about understanding the emotional skills and organizational practices that determine whether remote work can remain sustainable over time. The long-term success of remote work depends not only on employee emotional regulation, but also on organizational systems that promote emotional sustainability, psychological safety, and healthy workplace boundaries. Emotional regulation is often viewed as an individual responsibility, but research suggests that employees are influenced by the environments surrounding them. The systems, expectations, communication practices, and leadership behaviors within an organization all shape how employees experience stress, connection, and emotional well-being while working remotely. One of the most important skills employees use in remote environments is emotional regulation. Remote workers constantly manage emotions while communicating through digital platforms such as email, messaging applications, and virtual meetings. Unlike traditional workplaces, where employees may rely on body language, facial expressions, or informal conversations to clarify meaning, digital communication often removes many of these social cues. As a result, misunderstandings can occur more easily, requiring employees to carefully manage frustration, interpret intent, and prevent unnecessary conflict. Research by Gross 2002 demonstrates that emotional regulation involves more than simply controlling visible reactions. Emotions naturally develop in response to situations that people consider meaningful, but individuals have the ability to influence how they experience and express those emotions. Gross identified two important regulation strategies: cognitive reappraisal and expressive suppression. Cognitive reappraisal occurs when individuals reinterpret a situation before an emotional response fully develops, while expressive suppression occurs when individuals attempt to hide emotional reactions after they have already occurred. These strategies create different outcomes. Gross's research suggests that cognitive reappraisal can reduce emotional intensity while preserving cognitive performance because individuals are changing their interpretation of a situation rather than continuously monitoring their reactions. In contrast, expressive suppression may reduce outward emotional expression, but does not necessarily reduce internal emotional experiences. Over time, repeatedly suppressing emotions can increase mental strain, consume cognitive resources, and make communication more difficult. In remote workplaces, this distinction is important because employees often navigate challenges without the immediate support or clarification that can occur in physical environments. However, emotional regulation should not be viewed as the sole responsibility of employees. Although individuals can develop healthier strategies for managing workplace stress, organizational systems largely determine how much emotional strain employees experience in the first place. This brings us to a broader conversation about emotional labor and the long-term sustainability of the workplace. Remote employees perform emotional labor every day. They maintain professionalism during difficult conversations, carefully manage their tone in written communication, support workers, assist customers, and navigate workplace challenges while continuing to meet performance expectations. Wow, that is a lot to do at once. Or should I say, that's a lot to do to maintain. Although this emotional effort contributes significantly to organizational success, it often goes unnoticed because it is rarely reflected in traditional measures of productivity. When organizations benefit from employees' emotional labor without acknowledging its psychological cost, workers may gradually experience exhaustion, frustration, and disengagement. Parkin et al. 2023 examined how psychosocial safety climate influences digital job demands and work life conflict in flexible remote work environments. Their research suggests that digital communication technologies can function as either workplace resources or job demands, depending on how organizations implement and manage them. When employees receive appropriate support, clear expectations, and healthy boundaries, collaboration tools can increase flexibility, accessibility, and autonomy. However, and y'all already know, when digital communication becomes constant, unpredictable, or extends beyond reasonable work boundaries, those same tools can contribute to information overload, increased pressure, and greater difficulty separating work responsibilities from personal life. Personally, I find it easier now to set boundaries. I am now the queen again of living on Do Not Disturb, or I just mute my conversations. I wouldn't even waste time blocking you. I'll just mute you. And whenever I need your attention or if I need to talk to you, I'll open up my text messages, shoot you a quick call, and then boop, back on Do Not Disturb, or I mute you all over again. I do this intentionally because I personally just don't want to be bothered in my personal life. I really don't. Don't get me wrong. I do have a few associates here and there. I have my lovely, lovely children. I have my beautiful family. But I also get burnt out. Like, really, guys, I do. I want to spend time building Hari's helping hands, building listening and learning with Hari. I want to spend time with myself and to reevaluate my decisions so that way I can move forward as a young lady. There are so many things that's keeping us connected. While it is very helpful and it does cut back on a lot of chaos, I still thoroughly believe we're so connected to the point where we just don't know how to let go. And now it's blurring the lines. I remember the job that I used to work at. I think one day they just posted an announcement. There we go. And they literally said in the group chats, hey, don't shut down your equipment, please, because at night it updates itself. And at first I didn't really think nothing of it. But then last year throughout 2025, especially during my pregnancy, I actually felt some type of way. I did not want my computer to be on at night, even if I'm not in the room. I don't want it on. There are times before I moved, there are times in my work area where I just want to sit in the complete dark and deal with my pregnancy shenanigans. I was juggling pica. I was extremely worried that my pregnancy was super high risk. I was dealing with a lot of environmental stress and trauma all at once. I did not want to sit in my workroom / quiet space with my work computer on. So annoying. So what I did was, there were moments where I did shut down the computer. And I held myself accountable to wake up about 2 or 3 hours early before my work shift and turned on the computer and let it do its thing. Then they rolled out another policy change, which to me doesn't make sense, because how can a computer update with no internet? But that's just me. Okay, there's probably ways to do that, but any other average Joe would automatically think, if my phone is below 85%, what makes you think it's going to automatically update itself? As far as I'm concerned, I keep my phone on 100% as long as I can. So if there's automatic system updates, it's at 100%. We don't know how long these automatic updates is going to take. I'm saying all this to still emphasize, I needed peace and I needed to set boundaries. When I moved and I invested in my own equipment so that way I could continue with listening and learning with Hari, so that way I could stay on top of Hari's helping hands and ensure that the donations that was received, would be put to good use. It felt really good finally turning off the computers and the monitors, listening to it power down and going to sleep. At night, my TV wasn't watching me, my phone wasn't watching me, and my computers wasn't watching me. Just the twinkling stars in the night sky and occasionally the moonlight peeking through the holly bush. That is total tranquil. That is total peace. And that is something that we should strive for each and every day. Not exactly my experience, but tranquility. How can we do our best? How can we perform at our finest if we're constantly drained or things become so overwhelming to where we just go through the motions and we crash out? It doesn't make sense. So make it make sense. For those who are absolute workaholics, myself included, what are you going to do to slow that down a little? The job demands resources model, or the JDR model, helps explain why some remote environments become emotionally sustainable while others contribute to burnout, just like what we were talking about. According to this framework, high job demands gradually drain employees' physical and psychological resources over time. Again, just like what we talked about. In contrast, workplace resources such as supervisor support, autonomy, effective communication, and training help employees manage challenges more effectively and reduce the risk of burnout. Again, these items, support, effective communication, training help, all those things can assist employees manage challenges more effectively and reduce the risk of burnout. Parkin et al. Also emphasized that psychosocial safety climate plays an important role in determining whether organizations create conditions that protect employees' psychological health. When leaders prioritize employee well-being and establish healthy communication practices, digital work demands become more manageable. This demonstrates why emotional sustainability cannot depend solely on individual resilience. Employees can practice emotional regulation, but they cannot personally solve unclear expectations, unrealistic workloads, or organizational cultures that reward constant availability. Like, gig platforms, unstructured gig platforms. Sustainable remote work requires systems that recognize the connection between employee well-being and long-term organizational performance. I slowed that sentence down because I want us to understand these systems that we always talk about but halfway implement. We need to start fully implementing them. We recognize the burnout. We talk about burnout. If you type in psychology workplace or workplace psychology in Google, 9 times out of 10, you're going to run across at least 3 to 5 articles that totally talk about burnout, employee well being, mental health, tips and tricks, and la di da 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 da. But what about you? What about this? The realities, the human connection. When things go bananas, who else is keeping it real with you? Yes, creating a sustainable remote work environment, that takes a lot of help on both sides, not just the company sides, but also the employees. They can't do their job as the company if we, the employee, the freelancer, the contractor, don't speak up and let it be known. For example, say that you're apartment hunting and you're looking for a healthier place to stay. Automatically, when I'm apartment hunting, I look at the prices, what I can afford, and what I may have to downgrade to just so that way I can afford. Hashtag Western culture. And then I immediately go to the reviews. I prefer Google reviews because they're live, they're updated, and practically everybody uses Google. Some people still use Bing, but I prefer Google. And when I go through these things, I look at the reviews, I look at what's been said, I pay attention to the most recent, not the 1 stars, not the 5 stars only, but the most recent comments. If they have pictures attached to them and complaints, I look at those. I pay attention to how the business respond to those complaints. Some of those businesses or apartment properties, man, they lay it down. They're just like, hey, look, well, I acknowledge your complaint, but on this day, John Doe, we did this, this, and this, but you chose not to contact us. I'm like, ooh, this is the tea that we need. Only if we can comment back on this. At least one comment. One more comment. Because I feel like some of that tea was intentional. You intentionally waited. While other tea, that tenant need to hear it. Anyway. I use that example to emphasize, if we are not okay with something, then we put it in the company's hands. But it's also our responsibility as employees and workers and contractors and even business partners. It's our responsibility as well to maintain that open communication and let that person we're transacting business with know if it's still effective or not. How can we build something great if our communication is restricted? What good are you to me and to everybody else if you choose to just keep updating, and some of the updatings are actually hurting? Moving on. Research from Gower and Gallup 2026 highlights how leadership behaviors influence psychological safety in virtual work environments. Because remote communication often lacks many of the nonverbal cues found in traditional workplaces, leaders play an important role in reducing uncertainty through consistent communication, emotional awareness, and supportive interactions. Leaders who demonstrate openness, warmth, and stability can create environments where employees feel less interpersonal risk and more comfortable expressing concerns or asking questions. One thing I've personally found helpful is working with managers who never made me feel embarrassed for asking detailed questions, okay? Just a little side note. When I started my first W-2 remote job 3 years ago, or about 3.5 years ago, I often asked hypothetical questions because I wanted to understand every possible scenario before speaking with customers. While some managers appreciated my curiosity, others occasionally encouraged me not to overthink the process. And I think everybody on the leadership team was like, yo, we love your text messages, but you need to stop, girl. The audacity. But I get it. I get it, okay? I felt like they were waiting for the day for me to say, my bad, I apologize. So this is my way of saying, somewhat my bad, and I somewhat apologize. Just kidding. My bad. I do actually apologize for my TED Talks. Anyway, those questions ultimately made me a stronger employee. I became more confident handling difficult collection calls, resolved more customer concerns on my own, and maintained a supervisor transfer rate of less than 1%. Even when customers demanded a supervisor, I was often able to de-escalate the situation and resolve the issue without transferring the call. That experience showed me how supportive leadership and transparent communication can improve both employee confidence and customer outcomes. The study also highlights the concept of emotional contagion, the natural process through which people absorb and reflect the emotions expressed by those around them. Even in digital work environments, leaders who communicate with calmness, consistency, and empathy can transfer, or should I say, maintain a more emotionally stable team climate. From my professional experience, not personal, because I didn't really know everybody personally, but from a professional experience, my former W-2 employer, wow. Everybody from HR, leadership team, and a lot of the team members, they created for me an environment where it was easier for me to not only be myself, but also grow professionally. I am very grateful for the leadership team that I was under before a lot of people started leaving and getting promoted. I feel the original ones, when I first started, their personalities worked very well to help me be where I am today. If it wasn't for them, I would be still struggling with setting boundaries, speaking up for myself, and also being extremely sensitive. My direct former supervisor, I have to give her flowers because she literally I felt like she took a lot of heat, when I was, under her, and was going through a lot at the time, from relocation, coping with, pregnancy loss, trying to comprehend a lot of unfortunate things throughout my previous marriage. So because of her, I started to really understand what it's like to not only pick myself up when the world tries to push me down, but also how to be a better young lady moving forward. There were several others as well who, they were able to match energy. They taught me how to read people and to be a little bit more black and white instead of constantly colorful. Because sometimes when you are transacting business, you will have to be black and white so you can get things done effectively the first time and correctly. Anyway, when employees feel psychologically safe, they are more likely to voice their concerns about their workload, clarify expectations, and establish healthier work boundaries around their availability and responsibilities. That makes a very huge difference for somebody like myself. I could go on and on and on about this section, but the proof is literally in the pudding. I can care less about the company's rating, to be honest with you. What makes the company are the employees at the end of the day. The employees and also company policy. The company makes the rules, the employees follow through with the rules. If the rules doesn't make sense, what makes you think the employees will make sense? That sentence sounded very jumbled. Hang on. If the company create policies that are very obscure, what makes you think the employees will understand the vagueness of those policies and still execute like they are hired for that role, like to be professional and to do that role effortlessly? So at the end of the day, the only thing I can truly say is, if you're ever starting a business and you're looking at hiring people, just keep this little bit in mind. There's other parts as well with this episode today, but this part right here really takes the cake. Because no matter how much we talk about workplace psychology, employer gatekeeping, conflict resolution 101, the gig economy, the difference between being a gig worker, a contractor, a W-2 remote worker, whatever. Despite all of those awesome topics, it doesn't mean jack diddly squat if honestly you don't take the time to really know the people you hire. The people you hire creates that company's representation. The work environment creates those ratings that the employees will most likely spill the tea on. The company that I used to work with, they had a 2.5 to a 3-star rating. I didn't really pay attention to their rating until I just so happened to get bored one day. I hopped on Google and I was looking up my employer's address, my former employer's address at the time. And then boom, I saw their rating. And everybody's like, whoever leaves a 5-star rating, they've been paid to leave a rating. So I did my TED Talks. Y'all welcome. I did my TED Talks with the rating. And I just kept it real. I'm like, hey, look. This is this and that is that. They took me from the dark and introduced me to the light. And from there, I follow suit with the same formula that I'm doing with anything that I do. They gave me the tools to be better. They gave me the education. They showed me how to do it. But they always reminded me, just because I'm showing you this doesn't mean I am you. You need to learn how to make this work for you. And the rest is history. And it took a very long time for me to understand it until I started practicing it and believing in it. And sure enough, it became part of me. Alrighty, I know we went over a lot today, and you kind of heard a couple of my personal stories. With that being said, which one did you like the most, and which one do you think we should talk about more? Also, if you haven't already, make sure that you visit my other episodes as well. You might find some very interesting information tucked away somewhere in the archives. All right, y'all. Well, thank you so much for being part of listening and learning with Hari's podcast, being part of the podcast. I mean, y'all are part of the journey. So thank you so much for being here today. I hope y'all have a very beautiful rest of your day. And stay cool, stay warm, stay sassy, stay crazy, stay whatever. Just stay sane.